reveal the secrets of the universe by the travel through time. Only when we take the inward journey will we discover the true universe, the forgotten truth about the self, the supreme and the eternal world drama. Find your answers from the experienced traveler, Sister Denise Lawrence, senior teacher over 40 years from Brahma Kumari's World Spiritual University. Every first Thursday of the month, commencing the 4th of June at 8 to 9:30 in the morning. We welcome you, the seekers, to travel through time from the ancient wisdom to the modern way of living. The truth is that the seeker can come from many different backgrounds, living all kinds of lives. The truth is that you don't have to go anywhere. No bags to pack, but you do have to be ready to travel. Do you ever look at the sky and adore the splendid galaxy and admire the infinity of the universe? Do you ever linger alone in the night, pondering the true meaning of life? What is the universal truth? Who am I? Where will I go after death? What am I doing here now? Relation of the universe and human answer to spirit and soul are in our inner true self and innate wisdom. Let us explore and reveal the secret of the universe to different pictures and symbols in our mind. This is the 7 keys of enlightenment of the traveler. First, the light between the eyes. Second, the alpha point. Thirdly, the silent union. Fourth, the justice of karma. Fifth, the never-ending cycle. Sixth, recognizing the time. The 7, the door to the future.
In the darkness and chaos of this world, where do I find the guiding light?
Step into the light. Fill yourself with might.
Come join us on this journey to reveal the secrets of the universe. Accompanied by Sister Dennis from the UK and Sister La from Thailand. Hello, welcome to the 4th episode of this series, The Justice of Karma. I, Prajul Bosley, will be the facilitator for this session. For those who have been with us since the beginning of the series, today will be an exciting unravel. Many of us have heard of this word karma, but not many of us know how does this word apply to our reality. What is karma? The sorrow that we see in this world, more so in today's time, is it the result of karma? Today, in this session, we are going to unravel all the secrets and deeply understand the justice of karma. On this journey to unravel the secret, we will be accompanied by Sister Dennis, For those who have not met Sister Dennis yet, who will be seeing her for the first time, she comes from the UK. And as you'll see, she's a walking encyclopedia of Eastern wisdom. And the way she beautifully shares it with a modern outlook is amazing. She had embraced Raja Yoga meditation taught by the Brahma Kumari's World Spiritual University at the age of 23. Since then, she has traveled across the globe, captivating audiences and enlightening them with her unique depth of knowledge and wisdom. Sister Dennis is among the few pioneer thinkers of our generation. And we also have another pioneer thinker from the other side of the world, Sister Lau, with us today from Thailand. She'll be also joining us in this session. So, Om Shanti, Sister Dennis.
Om Shanti. So nice to be with you today.
Likewise, same here.
So
Om Shanti, Sister La.
I just have to welcome back to Thailand again, Sister Denise. So to embrace the truth of this fourth key of enlightenment, the justice of karma. I could see the pair of these scale in perfect balance. So the principle of cause and effect seeks to restore balance and harmony to sustain well-being. You look happy, healthy. Hope you are ready to reflect on how this statement resonates with you. The law of karma is without favor and its working are automatic. You are doing something good and great to Thailand at the moment. So we will come back to all of you to see what we did in the past to get our good fruit of karma and what we will be doing in the future to give a return of this great karma of yours. Thank you very much. Thanks on behalf of Thailand, and we all will just attentively listen to what you want to share.
Thank you so much, Sister La, and all of my brothers and sisters in Thailand. The justice of karma is such a subject that is very harsh for some people. And this is why a lot of people really don't prefer to go into the depth of the laws of karma, but there is great advantage for us to do this. When you see the scales of justice, there are two responses. One is the response of revenge, because very often when people say they want justice, it effectively means they want revenge for something that was done against them. Because they think that by taking revenge, the scale will get equalized. But the law of karma, as you rightly said, is a very extraordinary, subtle and deep energy that works to bring everything into a state of balance and equality. So there are so many things going on in the world today which people say, this is really bad, this is really challenging, I don't know why this is happening, what did I do to deserve this? And is there such a thing as collective karma? If an airplane goes down and all the people die, is it that all of them have the same karma and they all have something happen to them at the same time? How is it possible for us to understand this? So basically, what happens is that people look at little bits of what's happening because that's all we can do. And it's very, very hard to see the whole. So I would like to give you just a little overview of the whole, which is that the earth, the world, the human history begins in a state of balance. And then there is a lot of interaction between people and each other. between people and nature, and between people and the divine source. And we have, every single one of us has an instrument, a very subtle, invisible instrument inside our being, and this we call conscience. And when the conscience is clear, and when you listen to the voice of conscience, you are very easily in tune with karma, and you know intuitively, instinctively, what is the right action to do, because karma is all about action. Of course, everyone does a few things on a daily basis against the conscience, and then you say, oh, I shouldn't have done that, but never mind. But in fact, anything we do against the conscience actually goes into disturbing the balance, and it tips the balance to the side of negativity. And then the balance has to be tipped again to the side of positivity in order to keep the balance. But over time, and because of the complexity of the action and reaction, we lose our intuitive sense of keeping the balance. And so by the time we get to the present time, everything is so severely out of balance that it looks like it's collapsing. And there is a word from the Hopi Indian nation of North America, and this word is Kayaniskatsi. And this word means collapse through imbalance. And it's a very interesting word. And some of the ancient traditions are very aware of the importance of the human potential to keep everything in balance, and the potential to throw everything severely out of balance. And I think what we have done collectively over centuries is to lose contact with our intuitive sense of balance. And we have done so many things which have brought things out of balance that we really don't know what to do to bring it back in balance. But the law of karma, or we can also say the energy of karma, is implacable and ineluctable, and no matter what, at any cost, it will bring everything back into balance. So let's look a little more deeply into what exactly the principle of karma is. So the word karma is a Sanskrit word which simply means action. And action could be a deed that you do. It could be a word, it could be a thought. And among words, it could be written or spoken. So these are all karmas. And karma has a immediate, long-term, and mid-term consequence. And it could be positive, negative, or neutral. And between positive and negative, there's a gigantic spectrum. And the consequences of positive karma are positive, and it's an equal and opposite return. In the same way, the consequences for negative karma are negative, and this is also an equal and opposite return. And the return could be immediate, it could be later on in this life, it could be even in another lifetime. So the concept of karma is also linked to the concept of sanskaras and reincarnation, and I'll come to that in another session. But right now, we're just looking at the law of karma. So, whatever you do, you know what you do. Whatever you've done in the ancient past, you don't know. And this is why sometimes something happens to you and you respond to it with this word, what did I do to deserve this? And it's very interesting that we say something like this, because it implies that intuitively or subconsciously, we do have a sense that this can only have happened if I deserved it and if I did something to make this happen. And that is the reality of the principle of karma, that nothing can happen to you that isn't something that you caused. Now, we also need to take into consideration another principle, another concept, because karma doesn't operate independently of other things. It operates as part of a larger system of energies. And I'm bringing this idea in so that you realize that it is part of a larger whole. And together with the law of karma, there is also the principle of destiny. That means that there are some things that happen that are not because of karma. They are because of destiny. And here it becomes very complicated, because you say, well, how do I know whether what's happening is because of destiny or because of karma? And really, it's very difficult to know. And so there are some other principles that I would like to introduce here that you can apply because they're helpful. So when something very challenging happens, which of course happens to all of us very often, what should be, or what could be, the best immediate response? And what I believe is that it's better for us to say that this is happening because it's a test. So you have the idea of test, the idea of destiny, and the idea of karma, and they're all operating together. So if I'm being tested, what is testing me? Who is testing me? Why would I be tested? What's that all about? So the idea of a test is because we can also say that the reason why we're living what life is a university. And so we learn many things and we also get tests. So I think that it is really very positive, very productive to give an instant response to what is happening, especially what is negative that's happening, to say to the self, okay, this is happening to test me. Because if you say this is happening because I did something bad, then you will immediately go into a little bit of a weak state spiritually, and that is not good, because you will not be able to handle this test or this consequence of karma. So this is why I suggest that the instant response, I'm talking very practical terms here, the instant response should be, it's a test. And while the test is going on, you're dealing with it. And when you meditate, one of the side effects is that your powers of intuition get sharpened up and heightened. because you're restoring some original characteristics that got lost or rusty along the big journey of life through the cycle of time. And so you're passing your test, etc. Another principle that you must also bear in mind is that these tests may be of very short duration, or they could be of quite a long duration. And so that there's a pressure or a challenge that's being applied to you by circumstances which you find is quite hard to bear, to manage, because of its long duration. It could be an illness, it could be a relationship problem, it could be a financial problem, it could be certain situation to do with the environment. All of us are handling consequences of climate change, and for many people there are problems with agriculture and so on. So many different types of challenges are facing us, and as we grapple with our various challenges, along the way we look at the element of karma, and we can see quite clearly that our tendencies, our personality characteristics, which we also call sanskaras, these are connected with karma. It's quite a complex concept. So when you do something, every time you do that thing, it reinforces that personality trait. So when a challenge comes along and appears in front of you and takes the form of quite a big test, you will also see that certain of your personality characteristics actually make the situation worse. And sometimes, because of your sort of default reaction, you respond to your challenge in a way that is really negative or counterproductive or makes the situation worse. And then you reinforce that personality characteristic, and you actually cause the negative karmic consequence to become more intense and of a longer duration and more painful. So one of the reasons why we look at the knowledge of the philosophy of karma and the aspect of it being an instrument of justice, an instrument of making everything equal, is that it tells us very clearly, and we have to get the message, that this way of behavior, this personality trait that we have developed, is a negative one. And the proof of it is that it makes us suffer. But sometimes it takes us a while to get the message. And along with negative karmic consequences comes pain and suffering. And actually, pain is a messenger. Suffering is something that we really don't like, but which blinds us a bit. So in spiritual practice, we need to be able to realize when some pain is being applied to us by circumstances. We have to endure that pain, manage that pain, because that pain is giving us a message. And the message is, if you carry on acting in this way, then you are going to get more and more pain until you get the message to handle your response to situations differently. And so that would be You need to interpret your behavior in that situation, see that your behavior is not serving you well, and you have to think, what could I do differently which would make this type of situation, this recurring test, turn out differently? Because once we pass our test, then we might have to take it a couple of times more just to make sure we got the message. But then we don't need that test anymore because we got the point. And it's all about having balance in our relationship with ourselves, with the divine supreme being, with the natural world around us, and above all, with people. So what is the ideal approach that we should have to any other human being from the angle of the laws of karma? So what we are told is that all souls, we're all souls, and all souls have a fraternal relationship. And the karma between brothers needs to be love and regard, not more, not less. So if we get this absolutely right, then we will have love and regard with each other. So what does it mean to have love and regard? That means that my behavior towards another person hasn't got to be because of that person, but it has to be because of me. So that means I need to be attentive on my own karma. My karma is the important one because every karma that I do is a seed. Everything that I experience as a consequence of my karma is a fruit. So my action has to be at the level of thought, word, and action. My action has to be planting good seeds. So there is a spiritual practice for this. The circumstances that we are in are challenging. Another person may insult us or say something painful to us. And our normal response is to react. That means that we are taking their behavior like a fruit and eating it. So if you eat a bitter fruit, it really doesn't taste good and you spit it out. When we are reactive, then the karma that we are doing still goes into our account of karma, but it goes in as a negative karma. So we need to have spiritual power so that we are performing actions that correspond to who we are rather than actions that correspond to people who may be trying to challenge us or provoke us. So this is real spiritual power. So real spiritual power means I continue to behave as I am. That means I operate on the basis of my personal inner powers and my personal virtues. This means that in terms of the field of action, the field of karma, I am playing a leadership role. So whatever the circumstance is, by my own personal power, I am handling it such that I do not come under the influence of circumstances which makes me behave according to the circumstances. Then I'm not a leader. But if I stay in my personal power, I see whatever this is, some kind of test, some kind of provocation, or even if truly it is a form of suffering that I need to pay for something I must have done in the past, regardless of that, I must be in my power and in my state of virtue so that I am proactive and the circumstances that ensue correspond to my positive karma. And then I can ensure that the fruits of what I'm doing, even if it's under duress, but those fruits will be sweet, those fruits will be good. So this is the key in terms of the practical aspects of the laws of karma. Now, there are some other interesting aspects because the knowledge of the philosophy of karma is quite deep, quite interesting. What we do has a consequence on our health, our circumstances of living, who we get born to, the family we get born into, the kind of body we get, the kind of intelligence we have, the different talents that we may have. All these things are part of our karma. And so in spiritual practice, we want to study about the laws of karma because we want to sow the seeds of good karma. And we're thinking about the long-term effect. And so the long-term effect of my karma is that I want to make sure that for many, many lives, I have prosperity, I have good health, I have good relationships. And I think most people would agree that these three, health, wealth, and prosperity, are very important ingredients for happiness. So what can you do so that you can ensure that you have good health? And nowadays we are in the circumstances of coronavirus, and there's so many things that are there to produce bad health, and we need to make sure that we are in the best possible state. So anything you do to care for somebody who's not well, to donate for medical purposes or a hospital or whatever, all of this will go into our positive karma, and we will receive the consequences of that in the form of good health. How do we become clever? How do we gain intelligence? Any karma that we do to educate someone, to help someone, to do well in life, all of this goes in positive karma, and the result is that in subsequent births, I have good intelligence. This is always good. How do I get good relationships? Good relationships in the future are a consequence of me understanding what is the right way for me to conduct myself in all the different relationships that I have, whether it's family relationships, I may be the son or daughter of some parents, the brother or sister of some siblings. There are many complex family relationships, neighbor relationships, professional relationships, community relationships. So in every case, let me be as loving and regardful as corresponds to my inner essence. Then I will make sure that no matter what other people are doing, but my karma in terms of relationships is correct. And correct karma is karma that is mutually beneficial. So always do that which is beneficial for others while also being beneficial to yourself. How do I get a good place to live? This also is the fruit of the karma of hospitality. So whatever hospitality I do, whatever shelter and care I give to those who come to visit me, who may need shelter, food, all of the things that make life better. So in every little way, we are planting seeds, and those seeds have a long reach, and the consequences for us will always be very good. And this is a kind of leadership. So that another very interesting karma is that when you really know the laws of karma well, and you apply the principle of karma, then you will be an example, and others will take their cue from what you do. And what this means also is that when someone does something good by following your example, you also get a share in their fruit of karma. So you can see there are just thousands of ways to continue to enrich oneself and to move oneself forward. And sometimes people will say, well, isn't that rather selfish? But actually not, because it's something more like enlightened self-interest. Selfishness is when you do something good for you, which is not very good for everybody else. That's selfishness. But when you do something that's really good for you, truly, truly good, it'll also be good for those around you. So this is why it's called enlightened self-interest. So you will be carrying yourself forward, and by carrying yourself forward, you are also carrying everyone else forward. So in that sense, even if there are just a few people who understand about karma and who diligently go about doing acts of pure karma, they are actually turning the world around and getting other people to come under that beneficial influence and to start to perform pure karma. One very subtle form of karma, which I think a lot of people don't know about, is meditation. And this is to do with thought. Many people, they think that it doesn't matter what they think because thoughts are not real, but they are real. And there are a lot of people who spend time in negative thinking. They may not necessarily do what they're thinking, but they still think negative thoughts or obsessive compulsive thoughts or depressed thoughts or something like this. And all that goes out into the atmosphere, and it creates heaviness, and maybe it'll bring other people down. So someone who is interested in doing spiritual practice will also take care of their thought. So your thought is so important. And when you're connected with the Supreme Being, then you are drawing light and power into yourself, and you are disseminating it and diffusing it into the atmosphere. And your thoughts, your inspired thoughts, your powerful, meaningful, positive thoughts are changing the atmosphere and creating space in the atmosphere for others to come out of their dark thoughts or their blue thoughts. So this is also karma, and this also produces a result that you always have a beautiful mind, and you're always able to see the bright side of any situation. And this is a very, very good thing to have. There's one thing that is also karma that a lot of people really don't know, and that is the aspect of not taking sorrow, not taking in negativity. But yet, when somebody does something unpleasant to you or unkind to you, it's absolutely normal to feel hurt by it, to feel bad about it, to take it in, to get injured. And this is also a karma. And so karma philosophy tells us about this too. And it says, even if someone wants to make you feel bad and say unkind words to you or do unfair, unjust, unkind actions, be neutral. Don't take it in. Don't take sorrow from it, because it's an option. And if you do take it in, it becomes a negative karma that you did because you accepted it, you allowed it to go in, and you will suffer the consequences. And so this is definitely something not recommended, and we should definitely practice to be so connected with the divine source, so much in our own soul consciousness, so much aware that each and everything, including our reactions, they're also karma. And we must be careful and plant good seeds, pure seeds, because whatever seed we plant, we will have to take the fruit of it. So one thing that's very important is to distinguish the karma from the destiny. So the destiny is that there are things that happen. There's nothing to do with you. So when something happens that's just destiny, do not think that it's your fault. It happened, but it isn't to do with you. Just tell yourself it is what it is. Things happen. The world is in a very spiritually depleted state right now, and many things are collapsing. It's not really to do with karma, it is to do with time. And time is a different energy. Time is the energy of everything getting old, like entropy, things are falling apart. And so in the face of that, we just have to be neutral, detached observers, and understand that we're in times of renovation, reconstruction, and that the old is falling away, something new is coming. And so from the angle of karma, what we can do there is to just simply say to ourselves, okay, in the face of this, what is the best behavior, action, attitude, angle, perspective that I can have, and then do that, because no matter what, I will find ways to perform pure karma. So let us come together for meditation. And first of all, just let yourself turn within and really feel the self as a tiny point of light, pure consciousness, a soul. I, the soul, act through this body. What am I? A light, a being that is pure and peaceful. I am a power. I I have the power to do whatever I want. I act through this body. And for a short while, let me detach from this body. Think about myself, the seed. The soul is a seed that expresses itself by actions through the body, through the mind, through the behavior. Let me come into deep contact with my essence. The love in my heart is a fountain of goodness. It is like a river of energy. And this is the motivator for my karma. I think thoughts motivated by love. I say words motivated by the love in my heart. And the actions that I do are ultimately because of love for the world, love for humanity, my brothers, my sisters, my family. Let me move to the dimension of light where I connect with the ocean of love himself. A vast energy of light emerges from that tiny point of light. And this is my treasure store. I open myself totally to that light and that love. I become like a conduit, drawing that love into myself, filling every last nook and cranny of my being. And as I reach fullness, that love overflows, passing through me, through thought, through words, through deeds. It passes and it goes where it has to go. I become almost independent of these actions. As a conduit, I just am open and let everything work through me. Everything that is the heart's desire of the highest one for his, her children, for the world, the natural world, the elements, the beings. Let that flow and reach every space. Heal every broken heart. Repair every painful memory and make us all whole once again. Stay for some time in that thought. Let that energy pass through. Loving, healing, empowering energy. And then let yourself return back gently, reconnect with your body. And keep that connection while talking, walking, doing things, interacting. Om Shanti.
Shanti, sister. That was a very peaceful experience. And as you nicely put, that whatever we do it with love and regard. And we're not doing it for anyone else or any circumstance, but we're doing it for ourselves, our positive karma, in our state of virtue, and in our leadership self. So we don't get influenced by circumstances. It kind of changes one's mentality from being a victim to a victor in control. Sister, but since childhood, I have sometimes listened to this, that if you do something wrong, then God will punish you. So be careful and do something right. We often hear this, that if you perform sinful actions, then you will be punished by some supreme power, God. So what role does God play, if any, in our karmic account, in the law of karma?
People don't really know. They can feel the energy of the consequences of karma, but they don't know where it's coming from. And so it's quite natural to say it's coming from God. And the moral authorities, the parents, the teachers, the religious leaders, they want people to behave well. And so they use this idea that if you don't do it right, then God will come and, give you the consequences. Actually, God knows the laws of karma in depth and in detail. And so much so that people have interpreted it that God is actually causing the laws of karma to operate. But when we learn deeply about what God is, what God does, who God is, then we begin to understand that it's not like that at all. God says, I am your mother and father. Why would I punish you? I love you. Negative karma brings its own negative consequence. Positive karma brings its own positive consequence. So I think that the people in authority have taken it upon themselves to interpret this idea that if you say, well, all the good things happen because I'm good, then they say, well, this would be ego. So it would be better if you say that God gave you the fruits of your good karma, and then it has to be the other side as well, that God punishes you. So this is how it all came into being. But now that we're studying these things, we can realize that the machinery of karma operates by itself. And we need to understand it. So the more we are close to God and studying with God, the more we will understand the laws of karma. So this is how I think somehow they all got mixed up, but now we have to get clear.
That was indeed a good clarification. And I do remember the physics law that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, sister. But now as we are understanding the laws of karma, we understand, okay, this is positive karma, this is negative karma. And in this life, in our past, we must have done a lot of negative karma. And that kind of sometimes comes as a burden to us. So how do we settle if that negative karma, if not, as you mentioned, that every action is a seed and eventually it's going to come back to us. So if we know that we have performed negative karmas in our past, how do we do the wrong right? Or how do we make it into a positive karma, if it's possible?
It's very possible, very possible. And what we learn is that there are three ways in which you can settle karma. So one way is by suffering, by illness, by losing everyone and everything, all the different painful circumstances that happen in life. Whenever you're suffering, you're paying. And when you've paid enough, then your debts are paid off. So this is the way that people normally settle their karma. Another way is through visions. This is something that people don't really know about, but when you die, you leave your body, the soul doesn't die. And after that, the soul can experience quite painful experiences, which is another way that you can settle karma before you can then move on. But the most highly recommended way, the least painful way, is through meditation. And now exactly how does this work? This is really quite an in-depth concept. When you take energy from God, that energy can be applied in a number of different ways. And one of the ways is endurance. So you experience some kind of illness. And along with that illness, there is suffering, there is pain, there is distress. But the energy that you have taken in meditation can be applied to completely neutralize your suffering, pain, distress, so that you go through that illness very, very easily. So this is one of the ways in which meditation finishes your karma. Another way, sometimes people experience mental distress, emotional pain. These can be very, very hard things to bear. But when you have spiritual power, you're very easily able to neutralize that, so that you just move through that with great ease, because you understand what it is, you apply that spiritual energy to it, and you neutralize it. There are also circumstances that come, accidents, all sorts of things happen, but because you're connected with the Supreme Being, because you are continuously taking that in, something which could be an accident doesn't become one. There was a very interesting little example of this. I was driving in India, in the mountains, and very, very narrow road, hairpin bend, with a friend and colleague of mine. And we were driving on the side of the road that goes straight down, precipice down the bottom of the mountain. And along came a car at very high speed in the opposite direction, and more on our side of the road than its own. So everything was set up for us to be actually pushed over the side of the mountain. And we had about a quarter second in which to deal with it. But I experienced a very extraordinary thing, that time really slowed down. I was absolutely in my spiritual connected state, and I understood that I had about 2 millimeters of space, that I could actually get through that space without getting hit by that car or without falling off the side of the road. And we sailed through with these 2 little millimeters on either side. And we looked at each other afterwards and said, wow, that was, because of our connection with the Supreme. So this is just a little example of how your meditation will somehow extraordinarily transform a really potentially bad situation into something really smooth and easy. And I think this is also one of the ways in which meditation finishes off karma.
That was very nice, the experience that you shared, the close call. I'm glad that because of your spiritual connection to the Supreme, you're safe with us today. Sister, there's this common query that the karmas that we do right now, does it have any effect on our afterlife? And as a matter of fact, does it the karmas that we do, the situation that we are, does it also come from our previous lives? If that has a relation, and how does that work with our previous life and our afterlife?
Well, definitely, it's absolutely connected. Whatever we are now is the consequence of the good things and the bad things that we have done. So it's a mixture. And we, in this spiritual practice, we learn about that there's a kind of another time zone. We're going to look at that in another episode, but we call it the confluence age. And we operate in 2 kinds of consciousness. One is body consciousness, the normal default consciousness of everyone. The other is soul consciousness. When you're in soul consciousness, you're in the confluence age. When you're in body consciousness, you're in the regular, what we call the iron age. And when you're in the confluence age, in your mind and in your attitude, every pure action that you do has much more than just a 1-for-1. You do one good thing, you get multi-million times good consequences. You do one bad thing, multi-million times, the finger will wag at you. And so this is also something that we want to do, because we're looking at the whole cycle of time, and we're looking at the laws of karma in the context of the whole cycle of time. And we are being taught that if you wish, you can neutralize the negative effects of karma from many, many births through your meditation and your study. And you can also lay seeds which will be having consequences for many, many births in the future. So this is something we want to take full advantage of as much as possible, because it's possible. So we try to do that.
Yeah. Also, if I am doing everything right, I have the good intention, I have good thought, I'm performing good actions. And for example, if I help someone, for example, monetarily, give them money, and they use the money to perhaps I gave the person with good intention to help them out, but they use that money to do something bad, for example, smoke a cigarette or buy a weapon that eventually kills someone. So is it my bad karma as well? Do I also create bad karma with the person?
Well, unfortunately, yes, you do. And so therefore,
Oh.
we need to be very conscious that whatever we give to somebody, we're going to open up the possibility for them to play out the things that they would do according to their mentality and sanskaras. And so if we promote that, then we also share in that karma, and we will have to pay because it'll come on our account. So therefore, we have to just be very conscious that whatever you do with someone, whatever you give, make sure that the consequences are going to be exactly what you expect them to be. And so if you're sensitive and smart, you can figure it out that if there's a drug addict on the street, and you say, here's a couple of dollars, go buy some food, they're not going to buy food, they're going to buy some more drugs. So it's actually, in that case, better to just give them some food if you want them to have food, because they won't go and buy it. You have to be intelligent about it.
Very well, sister. The more that I'm listening to you, the more I'm getting this understanding that the karma, first I used to think that karma starts at the level of actions. But the more you spoke, I realized that it's even like on a subtle level. It starts with thoughts. And then what we think eventually becomes what we speak. And what we speak eventually then also automatically comes in our actions. So that was a very subtle but a very deep understanding that I got. Now I would also like to invite Sister Lan if there are any questions from our Thailand audience, and if she would like to ask this in the session.
So I just wanted to make sure that you are here just to sow the seed, but you just reap the fruit. I don't know what it's like. Whatever seed is planted, bring its specific fruit. Thoughts, feelings, attitude, and actions are the seeds I hold in my hands. So, Sister Denise, I don't know what seeds you sow in this land or the whole world will get to listen to this eventually. And I think I really feel that after all, we all get the teaching from Brahma Kumari World Spiritual University, from the seed of truth himself, because the teaching is to share methods of meditation, and it is based on the intrinsic goodness of all of us. What kind of goodness has your seed of action sown before? That's why you found God in this institution. Now you found all of us to share things out of that seed of truth that we've been reaping the fruit every now and then. What kind of intrinsic goodness that you have that you can, not out of ego, I would love to hear from your heart. That's why God has chosen you to just really do something great now.
Well, it's probably something like just still being childlike, innocent and pure, and something like that, because it's there in me. I think that all of us have passed through trials. We've all passed through hard times, and whenever I have to go through any hard time or something like this, I never think that it's because of negative karma. I always think it's because of a test. And I always think that there's something for me to understand by this. And so I look for it. And I always try to be really true to myself, you know. And I feel that I'm blessed, I'm fortunate, I have everything, I don't need anything. I have beautiful, lovely friends and people in my life. So I don't really have any reason to do anything other than try sowing good seeds.
Mm, beautiful. Lucky us, lucky Thailand anyway. But the year has passed so quickly, and I can hardly remember the entire journey to this point. But I know I have something left to transform. And you keep on and on saying something, okay, you have to go through something, it's called pain or something like a need to be healed. So I understand that, each and everyone needs to go through that settling of karma. What would you like to heal in your life then, if you think you've been doing a good karma, but at the same time, without knowing who you were, and then without knowing what you did, but up to now, everyone have to go through the settling. If you can recall, what would you like to heal in your life?
I think, when you're I'm a very highly sensitive person.
Mm,
And
mm,
so I think, the heart has wounds to heal. And so that is there. And I also think it's to do with, coming into your power, because otherwise sometimes you kind of keep yourself hidden away or keep yourself down or something like
mm,
this. Giving yourself the permission to shine, to be free, to share your treasures, and not feel the need to hide away like that.
ah,
Yeah.
so pain is at the must. You said once publicly in front of me and others, like, oh, all of us have to go through pain, something like that, or suffering. But pain is a consequence of neglecting life basic principle, which include self-respect, kindness, and generosity. But what kind of things you learn then, or to try to teach others how to get rid of pains and suffering?
Well, actually, I had many, many years with severe migraine. And during that process, I learned that pain is a great friend and a great teacher, and we should never try and get rid of it, but let it be with us and open yourself out, even let it claim you so that
Mm,
it can deliver its message, because there is a legacy of strength and wisdom and greatness
mm,
that is to be received through the wonderful teacher pain.
mm. So I remember once you were with me in the car in Thailand in the middle of Bangkok, maybe the first time, and it was really stamped in my head and my heart. We were stuck in a road, and that also the longest time I stuck with you in the road in Bangkok. And we were talking, wow, what kind of karma we did in Thailand or in Bangkok itself. The traffic is so bad, and you were telling us that you really have to use time in a worthwhile way, something like that. That's why we spend a lot of time in the traffic. What does it really mean? Because in the moment, it's like the whole world, particularly in the capital city, it will be traffic jams and all this. What sort of thing do we learn from that comments of yours?
I don't know, but I remember that, and it was the king's birthday, and that
I
was
don't know.
that's really bad traffic. Yeah, I think so. But we in our studies we learned something called the power of transformation. So something comes to us; it looks like a bad situation, a
Mm.
challenge, an obstacle. But you can just look at it in another way and turn it to your advantage. And so we enjoyed quality time together, and there was nothing
Right.
else that we could do. So we just have to surrender to it and take the benefit that was there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But if that at the moment the whole world experience chaos of nature, the calamity is coming or lots of things happening, um, I may have exploited the benefits of the nature in some way. but then you feel sickness in the mind or the body, or maybe the effect of wrong food or wrong thinking, as you say, cannot afford to have negative thinking. We really have to learn to be positive all the time. But the principle of cause and effect seeks, as I said at the beginning, to restore balance and harmony to sustain well-being. This law of karma is not actually about punishment, but it is a mechanism of the universe to reconcile and restore order. So it's really a good lesson learned from you today. So when I realize that everything I've expressed has returned, so I can choose my seed carefully. So what were the last words of you, so we can really learn to sow that seed according to your advice, for this particular moment as a whole world facing some catastrophe or something that we need to learn. What kind of seed we should sow? Of course, you said meditation is the best method to connect with God, but some people have a different kinds of meditation, not connecting with the seed of truth. What can we see in the future without connecting with the seed of truth?
I think we have to be absolutely flexible. When the food we expect is not available, then have different food or have less food. When there's not water available, use less. When you have to stay home, take advantage of it. There are ways of interpreting every situation in such a way that you take advantage, and practice from now to take advantage from all the things that appear to be disadvantageous, but they contain a gem, a beautiful seed inside. I'm reminded of the story of the Chinese very expensive bowl that was broken, and someone lovingly and patiently put all the pieces back together and put it together with gold, so it became even more beautiful than when it was whole. So even the broken things can become part of something beautiful that you add to yourself. And just know that contained in everything there is something really valuable and good, a gem for you.
Thank you very much. I think we take a lot of time from you. The things, time is also a healer. So we're using time together in a worthwhile way.
With that, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a very enlightening session. And the conversation between both of you is also very good, because there were many points that came through. And in this session, we specifically understood that whatever we do is our responsibility. So we do good, we do bad, it's our responsibility. And so there is, karma is an independent machinery, as you said before. And you also beautifully gave us the secret key to settling your karma is meditation, and understanding yourself in the soul conscious stage and connecting back to the Supreme. That's also meditation, and that's a way to get back to neutralizing your karma. So that was very nicely said. Thank you so much, sister.
Thank you.
The justice of karma. Karma means action. It holds no value as judgments in itself. The law is that, good or bad, action always brings its own return. If not in this birth, then in future births. To embrace the truth of these is the fourth key. We cannot always see justice when we look at just one birth. For the law of karma works through all the lifetimes of a soul. An action and its return may not come close together in time, but the law is. always and ever, fair and absolute. The law is without favor, and its workings are automatic. You are responsible for all your lives. With every action you are creating your own destiny.